Hi, I'm Kindley, President and CEO of Parks California. As a statutory nonprofit partner working statewide with California State Parks, we have a very simple mission. It's to ensure that parks thrive and that they're welcome and accessible to all of us. I am delighted today to be joined by the new Director of California State Parks, Armando Quintero. Armando, thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Kindley. It's really a pleasure to be here. And I've only been on the job, literally today is 1 month. Wow. And it is an extraordinary privilege to be working with really one of the most incredible collections of landscapes in the world.
It's so wonderful to have you here and think about the future of what's coming for California State Parks. I know you've spent a lot of your career on the ground in parks. What makes this opportunity and California State Parks so special to you?
I think it's the combination of the diversity of places and diversity of people. I've spent my adult life exploring the landscapes of California. I've gone diving in places like Point Lobos. I've spent time underwater at Salt Point and other coastal parks, as well as spending many months literally climbing the mountains in California. And I've explored the deserts, the redwood forests, and it all matters to me. And I feel like it helps define my life. And I think that having Californians recognize the diversity of opportunities to really explore the world of which they are a part is actually a stunning privilege.
That's wonderful. As you transition into this role, as you said, you're at 1 month, I believe, today. What do you hope to accomplish when you think about all of the opportunities? And I hope it's not too bold to say, what sort of legacy do you hope to leave in this role that you're now sitting in?
I love questions in moments like this because oftentimes it creates new thoughts and reactions. And what just came to mind is I like the idea of affecting the language that we use with each other and the language that we use with landscapes. And I think that, especially in these times, getting the public, getting individuals to recognize that the care of the places around them really ends up being the care and the reflection of their loved ones as well, because it is absolutely the landscapes of California that support us.
Wonderful. We knew this was such a special opportunity to have the chance to speak with you, especially so soon with you sitting in this role. And we were excited and we reached out to our friends on social media and asked them if they had any questions for you. I'm hoping, unfortunately, not that we can answer all of them, but may I ask a few of you while we're here together today? Great.
That'd be great.
So, wonderful. Thank you. The first one is from Mia on Twitter. And Mia asks, there are so many communities with limited access to state parks. How do you hope to break down those barriers and make parks and nature more accessible and trusted to a diverse and also spread out state population?
That's a beautiful question. There are two things. I think that one of the things that we've learned in this COVID experience is that we need to form, and we have formulated, new ways of communicating with the world. State Parks developed a program called Ports, which is literally an online opportunity for people to learn about places that may not be accessible to them in the moment. But for me as a child, my parents didn't go to parks. My exposure to parks was National Geographic, and it was all analog. Encyclopedia Britannica was literally how I looked at the world. And as I grew older and had access, I could then travel to these places that I literally dreamt about as a kid. And so there's that. And I also know that, having just started in state parks, Parks manages a large grants program that literally in the last 20 years has distributed over $2 billion in investments in communities throughout the state. So beyond the 280 state parks in California, there are really $2 billion of investments in things like swimming pools, recreation areas, playgrounds, education programs at zoos. And so one of my hopes is for people to realize that state parks is actually present in far more communities of California than just the 280 state parks.
Such a wonderful point, especially in times like this, where people are turning to the outdoors, where they're taking that moment to recharge and refresh with their families, who've been home together for so many months to stay healthy, to have that opportunity to engage with the Ports program for teachers, families, parents, children, but also to understand the reach that California State Parks, again, is something that I've been able to learn in the year and a half since we've been here as an organization as well. I love that you're thinking about it and talking about it like this, so I really appreciate that level of detail. I have another great question from Linda on Facebook. And Linda asks, how can we respond to this crushing onslaught of visitation due to coronavirus? Certainly, as I mentioned, Armando, there are such benefits to people finding that parks and public lands are their safe places right now. But with so much trash, as Linda mentions, and restroom maintenance issues and staffing needs, how do we manage through that in times like this?
As a society, we're in a steep learning curve. And I think that what we are being challenged with right now is, have we been managing the landscapes around us and the waterscapes around us in order to keep them healthy as well as ourselves healthy? Mm-hmm. And a couple things come to mind with this question. One of them is these places are clearly recognized as essential land and waterscapes. They are essential for the mental and physical health of humanity, which really empowers us to make sure that we are looking ahead and planning for that very value that these public lands provide. So right now, the State Parks Agency, with our staff and with stakeholders, we're developing a strategic plan, really thinking about the current pressures that are faced by parks and by the planet. So we're looking at issues of climate change adjustments. How do we manage parks with climate change in mind? How do we manage parks when it comes to equity and access? How do we manage parks with the new science that we now understand about what it takes to manage a forest, what it takes to make sure we support biodiversity and habitats? And all of that is under this incredible umbrella of these being essential landscapes. So Linda, what we're doing right now is learning. And what I also feel is that we need to tap into the wisdom, not only of people who already work in parks, but people who visit them and people who want to visit them. Because we need to understand what the interests are. And as I said earlier, these are your parks. So how do we do this for the future is the real question.
That's great. Thank you so much for that response. And I hope Linda also appreciated all of the information that you put in there. It's also good to know that California State Parks is looking forward, looking to that strategic plan, and also doing that plan in partnership with some of your statewide partners. We're excited to be at the table with you on this long-term strategy in coming months as well. So looking forward to seeing what comes of that and the opportunities that will be identified. I have one more question to ask, if that works, and it comes from Kelly on Facebook. And it's a simple yet complex one, is what I would say. Armando, how will you help to protect our natural resources?
Well, to Kelly on Facebook, that is a beautiful question. The Secretary of Resources recently added a new deputy position within the California Natural Resources Agency, and it is a deputy director for habitat and biodiversity. So literally a cabinet level focus on exactly what your question is about. And that extends to the other natural resources agencies, which includes California State Parks. Our Natural Resources Division just completed a really good effort on developing a strategic plan around natural resources. And with the current tragedies that we're experiencing, not only with the pressures of COVID and what it's doing to parks in terms of visitation and access and all those things, but also with the fires that we're experiencing. And I will give a heads up that with these fires, the next problem that we're probably going to face is a winter that brings rains to these burned out areas. And so what we have the opportunity to do is to really tap into the best available science. All of these events really provide for us a new level of understanding of recovery. How are the redwood forests going to recover through this? And what's happening right now is an astonishing number of professionals are reaching out to state parks who want to help in making the assessments that will help guide the future of how we manage these land and waterscapes.
That's wonderful. The love for these places is evident on your team, as I've had a chance to travel statewide and meet people over the last year and a half. And it's so wonderful to hear that people outside of this space are also saying, what is their role and how do they help? So thank you so much for that. So Armando, since we have a chance to get to know you a little bit better, here's a question for you. What's your favorite book?
I have a lot of favorite books, but at this moment in history and in time and where we are, there's a book by an author whose name is Rebecca Solnit, and this book is called The Field Guide to Getting Lost. And what I love about this book is that it talks about the value of protecting places where we can still get lost. But she also recognizes that we can get lost in the cities and in the places where we live, and that being lost can be a metaphor. And it's really a beautiful meditation about what happens to us when we get lost and how we find our way out. And it actually, to me, presents life in the context of both cities and wildness as a place that we need to protect for all of the things that both of those landscapes hold for us. And I think that right now a book like that can be extraordinarily important.
That's a book I'm going to have to pick up, absolutely, for myself.
Yeah, it's a little book. It's great.
That's wonderful. So here's another fun get to know you question. What's in your day pack? What's in the backpack that you carry everywhere with you?
Okay, I don't have that one with me here. But I do have a day pack that has a really nice set of binoculars. And I carry an EpiPen. I always have water and snacks. There's usually a sketch pad in there or an iPad. I like to draw. And I'm drawn to things that surprise me. And so I'm sort of always ready for that. Certainly sunglasses and the standard sort of care items, but those are the core. Usually I have fruit in my backpack, some sort.
And here's a question from me. As you get to know this amazing California State Park system, do you have a favorite park? Or maybe a fairer way of asking the question of the director of state parks is, do you have a park that's special to you, that you go to over and over again, or that has played a special role in your life?
You know, that's a really tough question to answer, and I'm not cheating by saying this, that when I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm trying to go back to sleep, oftentimes what I'll do is think about a walk, a backpack trip, a kayak trip, a hike, some moment, and I'll relive it. And I'll try to remember every detail that I can. And I'm surprised by things that'll come up in those moments. Sometimes it's a sound. Literally, sometimes it's remembering a scent. And I think that what that those memories are made up of moments in places. And I mean, I love the sound of being underwater with scuba gear on and floating through the underwater world of California. Leading a hike one time, a giant sequoia fell, a mature giant sequoia fell about a quarter of a mile from where we were. And as I say that, you know, I can feel the concussion in my chest. And those opportunities are available to all of us. You just sort of have to get out there. And actually, you know what? What this has planted in me is something that I don't think about, but that I encounter. And that is, there are many times when I'm getting ready to leave my house and I open my front door and I actually feel like I'm walking into the world as soon as I open my front door. And I think that that's what parks represent.
That's wonderful. You know, I often get asked the question as a partner who works statewide what my favorite California state park is. And to me, it's whichever park I get to be in, because the best work day ever, the best day at the office, as I like to say, is when I'm outdoors somewhere. Whether I'm on a beach on the Central Coast, or I'm standing at a kayak launch at Candlestick State Recreation Park, or I have the opportunity to be in a park that's telling me a story. I love those moments of work and learning and experiencing and feeling that incredible opportunity to connect to story, connect to nature, connect to people. So that's wonderful. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for asking the question.
This has been such a lovely conversation. It's all the time that we have, but I do want to just remind people, if they want to see what amazing ongoing work is being done at California State Parks, you can always go to parks.ca.gov and get more updates on what's happening with Armando in his new role and across California State Parks. So thank you, Armando, so much for the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better and let us help introduce you to people who love and care for all of our parks across the state of California. Thank you so much.
Sure, my pleasure. And please, everybody, make sure that you fill out the census, or if someone comes to your door asking for the information about the census, answer those questions. That's really critical for the support that our communities receive from the federal government and from the state government. It's essential, so please do that.